Everyone has that list of movies that they would wholeheartedly recommend to the next person. However, they would be hard pressed to revisit it themselves. And this might just be one of those movies for me. Welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met, hi, my name is Emily, or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Thank you so much for checking out my video. I am a team of one, writing, producing, and editing all my content that you see here and everywhere you find me at Movie Mija without the use of any AI. It's 100% organic here. So it means the world to me that you are engaging with my video, whether you're liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment down below. Without further ado, let's get into the film. With her life crashing down around her, Linda tries to navigate her daughter's mysterious illness, her absent husband, a missing person, and an increasingly hostile relationship with her therapist. The film is written and directed by Bronstein, and it stars Rose Byrne, Conan O'Brien, A$AP Rocky, and Christian Slater. What instantly caught my attention about this film was the title. It is a mouthful, but it reminded me of a short horror story by Harlan Ellison, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. So I figured the title, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, would be alluding to some sort of similar existential dread, which I was really into. But then you had the cast list with Rose Byrne, A$AP Rocky, and Conan O'Brien in his feature-length debut. So then I thought maybe we're gonna lean a little bit more comedic. Well, to my surprise and delight, this movie lands perfectly dead center in the deep, dark chasm between comedy and existential dread. Emotionally, this film starts at 110 and keeps its foot on the gas pedal throughout its entire runtime. It is an exhausting, exhilarating, and unnerving experience from start to end. From the very opening minutes of the film, we open up on a tight close-up frame of Rose Byrne's face. She is Linda. She is this mother who is at her wit's end. All of her nerves are fried, and under every single sentence she speaks, there is a layer of remorse and regret and anger and frustration, and she's never fully communicating exactly what she means because she has to be a mom and a woman who keeps it all together. So by staying close up in that frame, we are instantly placed in Linda's state of mind as a woman who is on the verge of a mental breakdown. And if that already sounds intense, let me just warn you that the movie starts there at the precipice of her just losing her shit, and it never takes its foot off the gas pedal. And Rose Byrne's performance in this film is unbelievable. She is probably top 5 favorite performances, man or woman, this year alone. She is so completely devastating as a woman who is just brimming constant anguish of having to ask for help and nobody really showing up for her. And the way I'm saying it now is minimizing it. And even if I were to describe to you the plot of this movie, it would seem like a seemingly innocuous list of minor inconveniences. But the way that these events unfold one after another and how Rose Byrne is able to just navigate it all with escalating stakes throughout the entire runtime of the film. And that is a testament to Rose Byrne's ability to really humanize this person in crisis, to be able to walk that fine line between the light and the dark. She is so funny in one moment and so devastatingly terrible in the next, but you are constantly sympathetic to her. And then you have the legendary Conan O'Brien making his cinematic debut in Bronstein's film, and it is impeccable. He is so unfunny. He is so unlike his natural self in this movie that you know the acting is good. You know that he was really committed to putting on a performance and meeting Rose Byrne at her level. I'm telling you, this is like one of the most chaotic performances from an actor or actress I've ever seen, Rose Byrne. And then you have her scene partner, Conan O'Brien, holding his own in his first ever acting debut, and it is such a sight to behold. He plays her therapist in the film, and their relationship is not great. He is not interested in her, and she is literally crying for help, and he is of no help. And part of that is a testament to the different ways that men and women are viewed in society and how they are expected to show up and give care to others. And part of it is just another opportunity for this story to mine some really dark humor. I also found A$AP Rocky's performance in this film to be so naturalistic and charming. He's like pretty effortless, but that is really hard to do. So I know he is pretty phenomenal, and I would be compelled to see him in more things like this. And then you have Christian Slater, who is pretty wonderful as this like aloof, unhelpful husband who just isn't really ever listening to what Linda has to say and thinks that he has all the answers, even though she is literally telling him what is going on, but he just seems unengaged and uninterested. What I found most effective about this movie was just how much we are put in the mind space of our main character, Linda. We are right alongside this woman on the verge of a mental breakdown, and that is most definitely conveyed in the performances, but most effectively upheld by the direction and the sound design. Those two are working in tandem to really put you in Linda's brain, and it is such an unforgiving, exhausting experience. Like, Linda does not catch a break in this movie, and neither do you, because you are right there with her. The sound design is incredible. Like, if you can't see this movie in theaters, it's going to be for the sound design alone. But in addition to that are these incredible visuals. The way that this film is lit is so emotive and evocative, and it puts us in a space that never feels fully welcoming. Even in the daylight, it doesn't feel sunny, it doesn't feel warm. It's very cold and distant, and it works well to further emphasize just how disconnected Linda feels from the rest of the world. We are constantly in these tight close-ups with her whenever she's speaking with her daughter. We are in tight physical spaces when she's in her therapist's office. Everything feels so enclosed, and it feels like you almost can't breathe. The way that this film is edited and paced, like, you don't get a strong sense of how much time has passed. You only get that in little tidbits of the conversations between Linda and her husband over the phone. But I really liked how much of a daze that this movie put me through. Like, this movie is at a runtime of like an hour and 53 minutes, but I don't think I felt any of that. Like, it was such a nonstop, exhilarating experience, and I didn't know how much days had passed within the story itself. But I think that helps undermine just how much of an unreliable narrator our Linda is, because she is going through so much of this stress and trying to navigate her role as this caregiver. I really think the themes of this film are so special, and are part of the reason why I even wanted to become a movie reviewer, because there's movies like this that are told from a point of view that is often not represented, at least not in this way. This is a movie from Mary Bronstein that is actually inspired partially from her own life, and you get to see traces of those little intricacies that come with being conditioned as a woman in our society, and what is expected of their role as caregivers. This role that is sometimes just thrust upon women and just expected as a given, that women are the natural caregivers of this world. So within this framework that Linda has been conditioned in the same society that other women have, you get to see all these reflections of how women are just taken for granted, is putting it lightly. There's this idea that with women, pain requires proof. There's never just an acceptance that what women are going through is real. There's always the need for justification. And as Linda, the character, is literally screaming for other people to help her and literally asking people to listen to her, they are actively deciding not to. And it's not just the men ignoring her in the film. The other women in the film are constantly ignoring her as well. So it's not just this gendered approach of women as caregivers and everyone else, but it's that layered given, the expectation that women should be caregivers and that they should be doing everything to help their children and keep the household and maintain their smiles on their faces, without any care or consideration of how taxing that might be. It's manipulation and selective empathy. We're constantly berating them with the idea that they are not doing enough to take care of themselves when they already feel like for not doing enough taking care of the people that they're supposed to be taking care of. Yes, you should put your own oxygen mask on before you can help others, but how? How can you do that practically when you are constantly asking for help and nobody's there to help you? This movie is doing more than pointing the finger at men as a problem. It's more of a brutally honest examination about how collectively society just pushes caregivers to the brink, the expectation that it's a given that they should care for others without any regard for how we are showing up for them as well. Overall, I found the film to be incredibly unnerving, brutally honest, deeply human, and so exciting. Not only because this is Rose Byrne, unlike I've ever seen her before. Yes, she has a myriad of skills and abilities. She is funny AF in Bridesmaids. She is incredible in Insidious and everything in between. But seeing her in this role is a wholly unique experience and truly something that will take your breath away. Mary Bronstein quite literally alchemized something very special, and it struck a deep chord with me. I am not a mother, nor am I a caregiver, but I deeply empathize with the story that she is telling, and I was just completely amazed by just how singular it felt. Like, this is a movie that no other person could make in this same way, and those are the types of movies that really set the fireworks off in my brain. It's an immensely bold sophomore film from Mary Bronstein, and I cannot wait to see what she does next. And on the Movie Mija meter, I give If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching my video this far. You're getting to see my hair gradually dry. Curly hair problems, I know. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing to to my channel so you can get one new movie review from me every single week. And if you want even more movie news, reviews, and insights from me, you can follow me at Movie Mija on TikTok, Letterboxd, and Instagram. All right, let's get into some spoilers. There are some details I didn't want to include in the first half of this video because they were complete surprises to me when I dove into this film myself. So the first thing that really struck me was the cinematic constraint that we never see the daughter when Linda is addressing her, at least not until the very end of the film. And this cinematic constraint is so wonderful because it works on so many levels. First off, I thought it was incredibly wise as a function to keep us in Linda's headspace because I know that if I had seen her face, it would instantly make me judge Linda a little harder because we are seeing her make some questionable decisions as a mom, you know, kind of straying away from the motel at times and leaving her daughter alone for long periods of time when she is somebody who needs constant care. And that is a point of empathy that writer-director Mary Bronstein doesn't allow the audience to have, and I thought that choice was completely brilliant. It also functions as a way to keep us in the headspace of Linda, who quite literally does not connect with her daughter. She is not seeing her own daughter. Right now, her daughter is just a burden. Sadly, her daughter is someone that she is just taking care of, and it is her fault that she is not doing well. She is not getting better. Doctors constantly berating Linda. Therapist is constantly berating Linda. Like, Linda, listen, she cannot catch a break, and her inability to see her daughter is quite literally a manifestation of her disconnection from her in her motherhood, this mom guilt that she is constantly inundated with and that is manifesting in the form of this giant hole that has formed from the flood in her apartment. That cosmic kind of like dread that was starting to seep out from that big hole was so interesting, and I thought it was a brilliant way to kind of navigate the verge of mental breakdown that Linda's at. Like, it is literally starting to seep through her sleep state, like whatever space you're in when you're about to fall asleep and go into your dreams, but you're not quite dreaming, you're still a little awake. I feel like that's where that hole was for her. This womb, an extension of this idea of motherhood being a punishment for her. And you see that reiterated when she's in a session with her therapist, Conan O'Brien, at one point and confesses to the idea that she thinks she might have aborted the wrong child. And that is a kind of deep, dark secret that feels like had been bubbling up inside her for quite some time, and she'd never really said it out loud. It felt like she was saying it for the first time in that therapy session, and it was such a revelation to hear her kind of talk through it, and the devastation of her therapist just really not responding to it at all is just so gut-wrenching. I feel like constantly Linda literally speaks the words, "Just listen to me," not only to her therapist, but to her husband, and neither of whom show up for her. Ironically, though, A$AP Rocky's character, I think his name is James or Jamie. Let's just call him A$AP Rocky. The character that she meets at the motel is the only person in this whole movie that is any kind of kind to Linda, and she treats him like shit. He is actually the only character in this film that has any kind of curiosity and empathy towards other people and actually listens, and it kind of, you know, bites him in the end because he breaks his leg falling through that hole. He even gets yelled at by Linda and her husband when he was doing the right thing by checking on their daughter. But you can argue that he is like the kindest character in this movie, and everybody else is just like in their own world. The other character I didn't mention early is Caroline. She is the patient of Linda's, played by Danielle McDonald, and she is the one who abandons her child with Linda, who Linda then has to take care of. She's doing the same thing that Linda's doing, just to a different extent. Linda is leaving her daughter for long stretches of time alone at the night at the hotel, whereas Caroline just straight up leaves her baby in her therapist's office. I mean, you can argue that they are very similar situations. There is a thread of understanding and empathy I have for both of these women in those instances and how they're just trying to get by. But in that abandonment scenario, Linda tries calling Caroline's husband, and he is like so not even aware that his wife is in therapy. And is asking the therapist to drive the baby over to him. Like, he is so unbothered, like cannot be bothered to go drive to this therapist's office to go pick up his own child. And then the police officer comes to pick up the child because the husband can't be bothered. And he goes on to tell Linda, yeah, women, they just do this. They just, you know, take the day off and like shirk their responsibilities. sir. But again, it's not a men versus women thing, because when Linda goes to the doctor and she attends that it's not your fault, like, seminar with the other moms, it is so frustrating because yes, it's not your fault. And the doctor has no problem with threatening her with these different consequences should her daughter not get better. Well, what is it, doctor? Is it not my fault, or is it my responsibility to heal my daughter? Then you have my favorite instance of the use of a puppet in 2025 so far. That is the hamster. Now, to remind you, the hamster was something that the daughter was asking for, and Linda was like, no. And then the daughter was like, Daddy, can I have it? And Linda was like, no, and don't ask your dad for things I said no to. But then Linda needs to drop her daughter off at the hospital, and she does not want to get into another fight with the parking attendant. So she bribes her daughter with the hamster. So they get the hamster finally. And then the hamster is crazy. The hamster is Jack Nicholson in The Shining trying to escape that box. And the way that it scurries across the street and instantly gets run over. I mean, at that point, I don't know if the hamster was supposed to look that demonic, but I think that the point is Linda's kind of an unreliable narrator throughout. So maybe everything and everyone just looks as demonic as they do because she is just so at her end with everybody. And she's just so frustrated and so over it that, yeah, maybe that hamster looked a little crazy. But I'm telling you, that hamster death was brutal and hilarious because it was so obviously a puppet. I do not condone animal cruelty, but that puppet was hilarious. All right, I've been talking your ear off about this movie, but again, I loved it so much. But let's fast forward to the ending. The way that Rose Byrne is just throwing herself into these waves over and over again. I wasn't sure if she was trying to end her life or she was just trying to reach that space right near death that A$AP Rocky's character was referring to when they first met in the hotel lobby. She's thrusting herself into the ocean waves over and over again. And my interpretation was that she was trying to get to that near-death experience to kind of just escape herself and be away from like the terribleness that has just unfolded with her husband finding out what she did with her child's tube. But I can't really say that I fully know for sure if in the end she is alive or if she is dead. If she is alive, it is a happy ending because then she sees her daughter's face for the first time, showing that she is connecting with her finally mother and child, not just as this thing that she's having to take care of and being so distanced from. But then if she didn't survive, what is actually being communicated here? What is happening with her interacting with her daughter? Is that just like a wish fulfillment, like something that she would see right before she dies? And that's just like her last passing thought before it all ends? I want to believe it's the first one. I want to believe that she was able to wash away something or be baptized by those ocean water and find a way back to connecting with her daughter. But who's to say? Let me know in the comments below if you have a different interpretation of that ending. I'd love to hear it. All right, that is all for now. Thank you so much again for watching my video all the way through. I really appreciate you. And you got to see my hair dry over the course of this video. So, you know, curly hair problems. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.